Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Richard Hagen. He is joining us live from Glasgow, Scotland, and he runs Immersive Publishing, works with experienced expert and exceptional coaches, trainers, consultants, and business owners to turn their expertise into books, products, and online trading that are as brilliant as they are. Welcome to the show, Richard.
AJ, it's fantastic to be with you. Thanks for this opportunity to hopefully deliver some great value for your audience.
Absolutely. You are welcome to the show. You are welcome to India in this online digital format. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people will benefit from you about how to write your book that will change your reader's story. And that is where we'll try and understand a lot about writing the right kind of book, the right kind of story. So before I come to writing the right kind of story, I would like to understand your story for the audience, Richard. What is your story?
Okay, I'll give you the micro version of this so that we can talk about the more interesting bits as well. I've had an eclectic background. When I finished university, I joined a Catholic religious order of priests and brothers. It was a preaching order, and I spent 20 years in that community, and that's where I first got involved in publishing and editing, writing, and then in the management side for a couple of kind of emergency situations. And the publishing was an amazing opportunity to get something clear in my head and then share it with, at that point, 500,000 people every week would get stuff that I'd written. And that was quite a magical experience. So that was, and I worked all around the country. I worked with young people, with adults, ran big projects, lots of renewal programs. But there came a point where I needed to move on. It was not a healthy environment, the community that I was living in. And so I transitioned out. I became a primary school teacher and set up a publishing company all at the same time with my partner in the business, Martin Pentecost, who's a fantastic author, storyteller, and systems genius. So yeah, so 14 years later, our publishing company is going from strength to strength, and we're now more and more focusing on empowering authors to create phenomenal books and courses that change the lives of the readers. Because my mission hasn't changed. The context is different, but the mission to empower and transform people's lives is exactly the same.
Absolutely, to transform people's lives, exactly the same. But one thing I want to understand for you, you say you focus on creating brilliant books and courses rather than stroking the egos of bland business writers. Why is it so? Why do you call them bland? I thought a lot of business writers think that they are creating a lot of value in people's lives. I'm just bringing that humor part, but just want to understand the business.
No, I play devil's advocate. I like to stir the pot quite a lot because I think the book and the publishing space is both brilliant and bonkers at the same time. An entire industry has grown up telling people you can become the best paid speaker, the best paid expert in your business just by writing a book. And they say it will give you credibility. And mine went, no. Be credible first. Have authority first. Be distinctive. Be powerful. Focus on that power before you write a book. If you're a week out of a coaching school, or you're the same as everybody else, for goodness sake, don't write a book, because you're just adding to the noise. As a reader, if I'm going to spend 5-6 hours with a fantastic book, I want it to be different. I want it to be powerful. I want it to get results for me. I do not want bullet points, boring anecdotes. I want something that changes my life. And most business writers are writing for themselves, not for the reader.
Absolutely. That can be debatable, but business writers do work hard. And I'm sure even all those self-help books, writers, even in the business firm, whether that helps others or not, but that certainly brings them a lot of money. So I want to understand, for the audience, Richard, is that in terms of today's time, a lot of people are getting into writing books, and many are, there are many agencies. Almost every second person is a writer, and if he is not, there are many advertisements online which say write a book even without writing one line. How
Yes.
do you look at this stuff and the serious bit of publishing? What is your understanding of this? And then we come to the topic of how to write your book to change the reader's story. Well, as of now, everybody is trying. A lot of people are trying to change their own story by getting that author word in their profile.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that. They're writing a book. So in the UK, a very common thing is a line that is put out is write your book and you will grow your business, you will transform your income, bum, bum, bum. And it's what they can get from the book. That is the primary focus. Now, of course, I believe in that, but it's the consequence of a great book. It's not the purpose of that book. The purpose of the book is to create such brilliant value for the reader that they want to go on your course. They want to book you as a speaker. They want to train you, but you've got to deliver the value first. Whereas most people are thinking of the book as a business card or a marketing tool. And that if 5 million people a year are doing that and 10,000 people are doing the real transformation book, they're the ones who are going to grow because they stand out.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, how to write your book to change the reader's story. You talk about that no one cares about you or your story. Why do you think so? Because again, here I'll say a lot of people write about their story. Sob story, real story, concocted stories, but they are trying to build their stories. Even in podcast, I see several one-pagers coming to me. I've got many years in journalism. I can read through those lines. I know how much is PR written, how much is the real story. So if everyone is trying to sell their own story, you talk about that you should write a book that can change the reader's story. Help us understand this part. What is the real story here?
Most people, when they're presenting for their book, forget what they are really brilliant at because they haven't written a book before, or they don't write very much. They're brilliant one-to-one with a client, or they work in small groups, or they're brilliant on stage, but they're inexperienced writers. And so when you're in that sense an amateur, what happens is that they default in comfort terms to what they know. When they're with a client, with an audience, they're focused on the experience of that client, getting results for them. But when they sit down to write a book, that disappears and they focus on their information, the stuff they know. And because they know that inside out. But the writing to change the heart, the mind, the behavior, the actions of a reader is very unfamiliar because it's very different from being one-to-one or on stage with an audience. That's why so many books, people who are brilliant at delivery, the books that they write are almost identical to every other book in the field, and yet they are very different. They're very powerful, and that disappears in the book. Whereas what they really need to do is think about, what's the purpose of this book for my reader? That is absolutely the first fundamental step, except most of those business writers also struggle to articulate what their real value is. They know, or they think they know, what they do and what gets results. But quite often the people, when we read a book that changes us, they change everything about how we feel and think about the world and about ourselves. And that doesn't come from brainstorming. It comes from the author really diving deep into their true value and then capturing that and expressing that in the book. Now, they can tell their stories, they can tell their anecdotes, their case studies, what I call the successes and the scars stories. And there's much more value for your reader in your scar stories than in your success stories. But most people just focus on the information, not on that change journey, that transformation journey of the reader. And without that, why should your reader bother reading? I don't pay £10 to read all about you and how brilliant you are and how awesome you are. You know, that's what the Elon Musk biography is for. If people want that, then go buy Elon Musk's. I want results in my life. I don't wake up in the morning going, I need more information in my life. No, I go, I've got this problem. I want this. I desire this. I hope for that. Let your book be the same as you when you're one-to-one with clients or an audience on stage. Focus on them and getting results for them.
Right. Before I come to the other question, let me ask you to talk about, that books that can change others' life. Then there are so many self-help books in the market every second day. A lot of people keep on writing, and it is supposed to change others' lives. And that is where I say, and a lot of people say that self-help books are of no use. Where is it? Where is the problem here? Is it actually they are of no use, or is it only about the writers themselves? Instead, they have created their own anecdotes and letting the other part is that it's not changing anyone else's life. Why is it that? Because the books which are supposed to actually help with the reader in focus still are not able to help them. So what is it that the reader wants as of today? Do they want help? Do they want transformation? Or do they want just information?
We know it's very seductive, but we know that information and logic does not create results on its own. And this is what happens quite often when somebody writes information or logic, and even they tell their anecdotes, their stories, but it's an information layer. This happened, then this happened, they said that to me, I did this, and the result came out. It's very info dull, depressingly dull quite often. They've got these amazing stories and they write them and they have no heart to them because there's no skill in the authoring and the writing of them. And that's one of the fundamental things, is that when you focus exclusively on your information, you miss out on the precursor to change, which is emotion. When we just present information, we're getting noise all the time. And I'll go, oh yeah, I know that. Oh yes, I've seen that before. I've heard that before. It doesn't work. And that's what happens when you operate purely at the information there. Now, the thing with it is, when you work emotionally, you create such a deep connection with your reader. You show them, you know them better than they know themselves. All the secret hopes, all the secret desires, and the real problems, not the superficial ones, which is what most people present, the real ones, the reader starts to go, oh, this person actually knows me. And that's the start of your book. Your start of the book is absolutely not information, and it's certainly not telling people how brilliant you are or your CV. It is, I know you. You talk about the reader in such a powerful, insightful way that they feel heard, seen, noticed, and only then are they going to go, do you know what? I'm going to pay attention to what this person now shares with me. Most business books go launch straight, and they presume, even although the reader's bought it, that they're just going to go with it. But the reader has bought it, but they're still really cynical because they've read rubbish, they've read cliche, they've read the 5 magic steps 100 times. You have to convince them that you know them much better than that, and your solution is much deeper and much richer. And I think that's a fundamental challenge. People are not writing for emotional connection first at a deep level. Without that, it's just noise.
Absolutely, absolutely. You talked about, the first time writers that they can make several mistakes or they are inexperienced. If we
Yeah.
look at the history, then there have been many great writers who have written just one book or two books. And in their first book itself, they have been able to connect with the reader. They have been connect with not only reader of that generation, but they are still connected with the reader even today. What
Yeah.
is it that they understood? And what is it that the writers of today, several of them, after writing 10 books, are not able to connect with the reader, maybe connect with some bank balance, but not with the reader in the right manner, and the reader is still wanting to looking at solving those problems that they have. Why is it so?
I mean, I have to recognize there is no universal solution, or there isn't one book that's going to change everybody's situation or everybody's mindset. I think really though that what happens in those transformative books is the writer isn't a writer. The writer actually goes inside and they create something that didn't exist before they sat down to think. They actually author a vision of the future, a vision of current reality, a vision of the reader, and then they share that. They go deep. They don't do 10-minute brainstorms and write 10 top chapter titles and then break that down into they they might have written one book, but it might have taken them 10 years to do that deep thought work, or they've had been working for 20 years and then they go away for 6 months and they go, right, what does this mean? Out of the hurly-burly of this, how do I shape this? And I think this is the thing. It's everybody I kind of react against this thought leadership phrase, because most of the time it's cliche sharing, it's regurgitating other people's thoughts. A powerful book, a transformative, it comes from someone who genuinely has gone inside and they have authored a different way of seeing things and a different way of being in the world. That's fundamentally different from quick fix tools and strategies. It's what we call a paradigm in our business. It's a way of filtering reality that is so much better than the current way people work with.
Absolutely. So, how do you filter these so many books or writers they come to you? What are the ways you look at the books or the writers that, okay, this is one story or this is one authentic person who has indeed thought of the reader and not trying to talk about their own story? What is the process so that, people who want actually, real writers, good writers, they can understand what goes on in a publisher's mind when they are filtering those so many books that they've got?
I mean, we are looking for 5 core elements to a brilliant project. So the first one is that empathy. It is the sense that this writer, this person or this expert has a profound care and connection with their audience and their reader, that their intent is to deliver value for this audience, and that you pick up very, very quickly if that's at the heart or the foundation of the project. So there's empathy, so they feel and they are connected to and want to help this audience. The second element for us is they have authority in their current business and their current approach. They are creating brilliant results for their audience. Now, it might be small at the moment. They might not be a massive name. In fact, most of the people we work with are relatively small businesses, but they get great results and deliver tremendous value. So they are talking about what they know, and they do it in a very bold way. They're not quiet or shy. They're not obnoxious. I can be a bit pompous sometimes and very, very opinionated. That's part of my kind of makeup. But they have real authority. The next one is that we call it the ecosystem, and that is that it all hangs together. that when they say something one place, they're not contradicting themselves in another place. The thing works all together. They can use audio, they can use video, they can use text. So it's that whenever somebody meets them, they're meeting one reality, one message. And when, I've seen people write on page 32, never have your phone charging by your bed, it disturbs your sleep. And then page 64, one night when I couldn't sleep, I picked my phone up and this quote from Oprah changed my life. And you're going, but who do I believe? Page 32 you or page 64 you? And that breaks trust with your reader. So you want somebody who's congruent, and they build an ecosystem that is congruent around them. And then the one most people are terrified of. Everybody says they want to be a leader, but most of them don't want to stand out. They will not stand out and be different. In UK, we have this thing called Marmite, which is people either love it or hate it. You put it on your toast. I hate it. Other people love it. But if you want to create change for people, you've got to present them with something that disrupts their thinking and their approach. So disruption is a big element. And then this underlying idea that there is a different way of thinking about things, a different way of acting, what we call a paradigm. So Stephen Covey's 7 habits, they're not 7 steps. They are ways of filtering and experiencing the world. And you start to use his language to change your life. Those are the 5 elements we're looking for: empathy, authority, ecosystem, disruption, and paradigm. Now, we help people create that in their journey. Most people don't arrive with all 5 elements, but that's what we help mentor and coach them in.
Absolutely. There is much to learn about this whole business of writing, good writing, as well as good publishing. So tell us a bit more about your company, Immersive Publishing, what it does, so that people can learn more about it, and also for those writers, for those experts who would like to be engaged with you professionally, what's the best way for them to do so?
Brilliant. So Immersive Publishing is one of our kind of public-facing brands, if you like. We're a publishing company, and that's every element from idea generation right through to a full product business. And we have 2 different bits of the business. We have a traditional publishing business, Empower Publishing, and we publish projects around gender, race, social justice, mental well-being, neurodiversity, and they're the projects that we invest in as a traditional publisher. So the book you can see behind me, AJ, called Invisible Me by Tyler Inman, was by a 10-year-old young man with Asperger's syndrome. Amazing project. So that was one of our traditional projects. Immersive Publishing is where we work with speakers, coaches, trainers, consultants, entrepreneurs to create their product business, but more importantly, their paradigm, where they create a tool, a system, a methodology that allows them to change their audience's lives, their businesses, their results at scale by this powerful filter, this powerful model that changes everything about them. And we do that through one-to-one coaching. We've got development programs and group programs for those who want to write the first book, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, and a dedicated program for those who want to turn all the random stuff in their head into a detailed product business with books, online courses that all scales up their impact. So it's a whole mixture of group programs, automated programs, and one-to-one work with myself and Martin, the creative director of the business. So we cover all the bases in publishing.
Right. And how do people connect with you? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
The simplest way in this day and age is LinkedIn. Find me, Richard Hagen, Hagen, on LinkedIn, and reach out through there, or go to the Immersive Publishing website and book a call there. So that's immersive.pub. That's the simplest, easiest way to get in touch with me.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, AJ. It's been a pleasure.